Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Ve salatu ve selamu ala seyyidil murselin. Ve ala alihi ve sahabeti ecma'in. Subhaneke la ilme lena illa ma allamtena. İnneke entel alimul hakim. Subhaneke la fahme lena illa ma fahmtena. İnneke entel cevadul kerim. Ve Rabbi zidni ilma. Euzu billahi mineşşeytanirracim. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا تداينتم بدين إلى أجل مسمى فاكتبوه وليكتب بينكم كاتب بالعدل ولا يأب كاتب أن يكتب كما علمه الله فليكتب وليملل الذي عليه الحق وليتق الله ربه ولا يبخس منه شيئا فإن كان الذي عليه الحق سفيها أو ضعيفا أو لا يستطيع أن يمله فليملل وليه بالعدل. Sadaqallahu Mawlana al-Azim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after encouraging us to spend in the path of Allah and also frightening us and warning us from engaging in transactions involving interest and usury and in economic injustice, as it were. And part of the economic justice is, and one of the beauties of Islam is the total and comprehensive way in which it protects society, the individual, the family, the community, and the entire global community at large. And in this injunction, as we also, tawfiq, as we say, last night we heard the hadith about the one who proceeds in the path of Allah and with his money and his person with proper intention, and he fights in the way of Allah and he's martyred. All of his sins are forgiven except for debt. And it's very interesting that after the last injunction, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives in the Quran, or the very last ayat, I should say, and the last injunction is the injunction of taqwa. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all matters. And here, after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enters into the discourse of the description of the rules and regulations that are required in the event of debt. And since it's such a critical issue, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned this in detail. And it's also noteworthy that after the last ayat of the Quran, the longest ayat of the Quran, this is known as ayat al-Dain. And it stretches about a page and a half in the Quran. It's one ayat. So we'll begin with this. There's a long discussion as well. But to begin with this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as usual, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the people of Iman. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. And obviously, as we mentioned so many times, the people of Iman, although the entire world is addressed with these directives, it's the people of Iman who are going to heed and put into action. So, O you people of Iman, if you happen to enter into a transaction which involves debt, and it's noteworthy, we should understand there's a distinction between debt and a loan, although it all amounts to debt, which is owed. But debt in this reference or in this context means specifically a purchase agreement, where we are purchasing goods or services with a deferred payment. So there is a commodity, there is a goods or a service which is purchased or taken, and the payment for that goods or service is going to be deferred to a particular time. So number one, it has to be a specific time. We don't purchase something and say, okay, whenever it's possible, I'll pay you. No. Now, loan is a different thing. We'll talk about that later. But a debt, where you purchase something and there's going to be a payment, that payment has to be specified at a particular time. We can't say, when the pilgrims come home, or when their crop, matures, or in the next rain, or when our camels, have babies or something like that, which was a practice of the people of ignorance. So there has to be a particular time indicated. Not only that, but it should be written down. It should be written down. so that there's no ambiguity. And in transactions, it's very important that all aspects of transaction, where there could possibly be a dispute, should be clarified and should be recorded. And therefore, the order is given that a katib, a scribe, should be employed, and the terms of that debt need to be dictated to the scribe, which he will write down. And the scribe should not refuse to do so. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, particularly if you remember that back in those days, very few people actually could read or write. So generally they would have to have someone to write these things down. And so someone should not refuse, because it would be, in refusing, it would cause it it could be the means of a discrepancy if this wasn't written down. So the scribe should write down as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has favored him and taught him reading and writing and accounting and writing down things. So he should do so, and he shouldn't refuse. And the person, also interestingly, the person who the debt is upon him, he will dictate the terms. And of course, the debtor, the person who it is owed to, he will be present. If there's a discrepancy, then they can work that out. But the person who upon him is the right, he's the one who is going to dictate to the scribe. And thereafter, we'll talk about the witnesses also, because witnesses are also necessary to be brought into the equation. And inshallah, we'll attend to that, inshallah, in our next lesson, which will be after 1 month, because I'll be traveling, and inshallah, I'll be away for a 1 month time. Inshallah, beginning of September, we'll be returned. Inshallah, ta'ala, and we'll continue the discourse on that. So both the tafsir and the hadith lessons, inshallah, and the suluk and the sirat lessons will all be deferred until the beginning of September, inshallah. So we'll see you again, inshallah. Then, jazakumullah kulla khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Subhanallah wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.